by a loss. At 24-0, the Wichita State Shockers have made it clear last year was no mistake. But tonight, another test in another town. From Cedar Falls, Iowa, welcome to college basketball on ESPN. Tonight, a major hurdle in their quest for perfection. The undefeated, fourth-ranked Wichita State Shockers come to town to take on the Northern Iowa Panthers. And a great good evening to you. A great night for basketball in an electric atmosphere at the McLeod Center. Alongside Mark Adams, I'm Rich Hollenberg. And Mark, we know the narrative now. Wichita State, one of two undefeated teams at this point, Syracuse being the other. And the Shockers aren't a shock to anyone. At 24-0, they get everybody's best shot, especially here in the Missouri Valley. So, what has Wichita State done to this point to sustain that success?
Play angry points, second chance points, points off turnovers, and points in the paint. Plus 17 on the season on average versus their opponents. This is a team that gets it done and they play angry. That's why they're the #1 road team in America. 34-8 over the last 3+ seasons. Rich, that's better than anybody in the country.
Well, you mentioned road games. They got over a major road hurdle. Last Wednesday, they won in Terre Haute against Indiana State. But if you roam Missouri Valley hoops at all, you know that here in Cedar Falls could be the best home court advantage in the conference.
The Roundhouse is #1. 1A is right here in Cedar Falls. And if you don't believe me, ask the last 8 nationally ranked teams that came to Cedar Falls. 7 of them walked out of here with a loss. They can play big time here. It's about how many three-point shots the Panthers make tonight.
Well, home court advantage aside, what else does UNI have to do to be successful tonight?
Find consistency from the three-point line for Northern Iowa. In the wins, they are white hot from downtown. You need to see that tonight. Watch it carefully. If the Panthers bang threes, the undefeated team could go down tonight. And then with Cleanthony Early, he is all about consistency. You saw his numbers over the last 5 games. Why do I love Cleanthony Early? Because the Wichita State Shockers can invert their offense and put him on the block. Why do I love Cleanthony Early? Because he shoots 56% from two-point range. Why do I love him? Because he plays angry on the offensive glass.
Well, that leads us to Wichita State's starting lineup. You mentioned Cleanthony Early, 19.5 points in true road games. Fred VanVleet, the point guard, 22 the last time these two played. They're joined by Baker, Cotton, and Colby. For the homestanding Panthers, a wrinkle for Ben Jacobs and starters. Looking for more rebounding and defense against the Shockers. Deion Mitchell, Matt Bohannon, and Seth Tuttle, the regulars. But Morgan and Singleton get the nod in the first 5 tonight. And this Northern Iowa team, Mark, has been Jekyll and Hyde, home and a road. At home, they're 8-1. On the road, they're 1-9.
And it's all about if they get their momentum and rhythm early offensively and they knock down three-point shots, this building will explode. We saw it happen against VCU earlier this year. This is the one great last chance for a Missouri Valley team to win at home, I believe, against the undefeated team in the country, Wichita State.
The top 2 scoring teams in the Missouri Valley going toe-to-toe in prime time on Saturday night. The ball goes out of bounds off the opening tip, and immediately Ron Baker hits the deck. It's going to be Northern Iowa ball. 2 seconds ticked off the clock, and Baker comes up a little gimpy.
Ron Baker's been nursing a sore ankle throughout the entire season. There you see him get tripped up and go down. He's going to stay on the floor, though.
Here comes the point guard in white, #1, Deion Mitchell. A 2.3-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. Your officials, Hal Lusk, Zelton Steed, and Terry Davis. First shot of the game, followed up, and offensive rebounds will be key for Ben Jacobson's team.
That's why the freshman Jeremy Morgan was inserted into the starting lineup. They need offensive board work, and he's athletic enough to do it.
Early's first shot of the game, and he knocks it down. That's a 3-pointer for Cleanthony Early, shooting 36% from beyond the stripe. Seth Tuttle, blocked by Early. Morgan with the left hand off the window. And the freshman has the first 4 points for the Panthers. And Cleanthony Early is down, clutching his side. It looks like his right shoulder. understatement of the year, Mark. That is bad news for the Shockers.
Morgan goes up, and Cleanthony goes down. Looks like he jammed. Watch him brace his fall as he goes down with his right hand.
So 2 seconds into the game, Ron Baker rolls his ankle. Not even 53 seconds gone by, and the training staff's out there along with head coach Greg Marshall talking to their star and leading scorer Cleanthony Early, who's grabbing his right shoulder.
And when he comes down, look at his right hand, and it jams his shoulder right there. When the trainer tried to come out to see him, he tried to wave the trainer off.
And that's a good sign. Greg Marshall helped him up, and he used his right arm to stabilize himself. Well, you talk about Wichita State playing angry. Second chance points is one of those factors. Northern Iowa's first 2 buckets came off second chance points.
And that's the biggest key. Yesterday in practice, Ben Jacobson gave me access to their video session. All they looked at was points off turnovers and second chance points in favor of Wichita State. They felt like they ran their offense well enough in Wichita to win. But those little things, blocking off, being physical, they're turning the tables early against Wichita State.
Morgan off the mark to complete the three-point play. These two teams met back on January 5th. Wichita State at home won it by 14, 67-53. Early's on the bench, 15 on the shot clock. 10 on the shot clock. Here's Colby, blocked from behind.
Jeremy Morgan again, this time on the defensive end. Number 20 in white is answering his coach's call to be the most aggressive player on the floor, and he is. Watch how he helps from the backside defensively. Jeremy Morgan playing just tough here early.
Here's Morgan, guarded by Baker. Tuttle, he can step out and knock down a three.
They're really trying to get Seth Tuttle touches early, number 10 in white. They're trying to get him involved in the offense.
He's their top scorer, but here's Matt Bohannon. He misses. And it's going to be a Northern Iowa foul. There's Greg Marshall conferring with the officials. His 7th season at Wichita State. Of course, that memorable run to the Final Four last year. This is their best school start in history, and he's now the 2nd all-time winningest coach at Wichita State, right behind Hall of Famer Ralph Miller. And now Cleanthony Early checks back in, so a collective sigh of relief from the Woo-Shock crowd.
So far, the move by Ben Jacobson to start Marvin Singleton and have Jeremy Morgan also as an athletic 3. They're bigger, they're tougher, and there's Singleton right on cue.
Second chance points again.
Play angry points, early favor to Northern Iowa.
Out of bounds, it's going to stay Wichita State basketball. And all the swagger in the first 2+ minutes has been from the home club.
With Ben Jacobson going big, going aggressive on the offensive glass, has been a real difference here in the first 2+ minutes.
Baker.
Early matched up with Deion Mitchell down underneath, size advantage.
And Belton Steed calls Ron Baker for the traveling violation. That's something you don't see much from Wichita State. Only 10 turnovers a game for the Shockers. They know how to take care of the basketball.
And Baker's so fundamentally sound, he's not a guy that's typically going to walk with the basketball.
Now here's Wes Washburn, a transfer from Tennessee, usually a starter for Northern Iowa, coming off the bench tonight. Tuttle sizes up Colby. Blocked by Colby.
The length of Wichita State defense interior giving Seth Tuttle fits.
Baker, pull up, baseline, good.
Solid.
First two of the game for Ron Baker, averaging just under 13 a game. Wichita State 2 for 3 from the field, but twice as many opportunities offensively for Northern Iowa so far.
Well, Wichita State, I think, is underrated as their interior defense. Intimidation right there.
Off the mark. Cleared by Baker.
Northern Iowa sagging off defending the three-point line.
Cotton, baseline three for Takale Cotton. His first three of the game.
Only shoots 29% from three, but he's a guy that seems to make big shots. When they need something to happen, he makes it happen. Number 32 in black, Takale Cotton.
Four minutes gone by. Fourth-ranked undefeated Wichita State, a 2-point lead on the road. Bohannon, no good. Colby clears for the Shockers. Cotton, nice look inside, but it's blocked from behind, and they're going to get a foul, and it looks like it'll be on Jeremy Morgan. First media timeout of the night, 15:46 to go in Cedar Falls. It's a close one in the early going.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. Expedia. Expedia helps 30 million travelers a month find what they are looking for, one traveler at a time. And Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram.
As expected, when the Shockers come to town, a standing room only crowd, over 6,600 packed into the McLeod Center in Cedar Falls. Northern Iowa trails by 2, 8-6 with 15:46 to go. We talked about Greg Marshall. How about his compatriot Ben Jacobson in his 8th season? Believe it or not, he looks like he's about 30 years old. He's the longest tenured coach in the Missouri Valley Conference, and just this past offseason signed a 10-year extension. That's good news not only for Northern Iowa, but for all of Missouri Valley hoops.
5 straight 20-win seasons here at Northern Iowa for Ben Jacobson. That's the longest streak in the Missouri Valley Conference. And who can forget Ali Farouk-Manesh in 2010 as Kansas went down and Northern Iowa went to the Sweet 16.
Anthony Early makes the first free throw attempt that he takes tonight. He has 4 points, and something that Wichita State has done exceedingly well this season, get to the free throw line. 168 more attempts at the stripe than their opponents.
And the majority from that trio of Fred VanVleet, Ron Baker, and Cleanthony Early, they get to the line and they are productive.
Some token full court pressure from the Shockers. They have a 10-6 lead. Trying to make it 25 straight wins to start the season. Here's Tuttle, his first two of the game.
Seth Tuttle read the defense as Wichita State cheated on the on-ball screen. He read it and slipped the screen straight to the basket. Well executed.
Shadrach Lufiel, 0 in black, is checked in for Greg Marshall. Early off the mark on that one, and Tuttle grabs the rebound.
Defensive rebounding so critical for Northern Iowa. Keep Wichita State off the offensive glass.
Mitchell high off the glass, no good. And two Shockers fight for the rebound.
It's a bad shot.
That's rebounding angry.
Watch Cleanthony Early, number 11 in black. Watch him move to the outside and the inside. They can invert him from the three-point line as he is here, and they can roll him down to the paint.
10 on the shot clock. Here's VanVleet. Inside, Lufiel swings it. Nice look from Baker. The extra pass, and it pays off.
Cleanthony Early, so dangerous. He's calling for the ball on the backside. Washburn is stuck coming out on the shooter, and it leaves Cleanthony Early wide open. Good execution. And what I like about Wichita State, Rich, that's not an accident. They recognize mismatches in the low post, and Cleanthony Early creates a lot of mismatches.
And what did you tell me when we were watching shoot-around earlier today? They run a lot of offensive sets, and they practice that in skeleton form in their shoot-arounds. What does that benefit them?
They go 5-on-0 a lot, and what it does, first of all, puts the right people in the right positions at the right times and helps them to recognize Cleanthony Early on the low block to reverse it and get it to him.
Early has 8 of the Shockers' first 13 points. 5-point lead for number 4, Wichita State. Speaking of number 4, here's Chip Rank, and he knocks down his first shot.
Very good news for Northern Iowa. When Chip Rank makes shots, they become very difficult to defend.
He's the number 2 active leader in three-point field goals made in the Missouri Valley Conference. Chance to tie or take the lead. Mitchell. Switch to the left, got knocked out of bounds. And that's Shadrach Lufiel, who went diving into the photographer's row. Number 12, Darius Carter, is going to check in for Greg Marshall. And for Ben Jacobson, number 24 in white, Max Martino, seeing his first time. And there's another one off the bench. Number 3 in white, Ted Friedman, will go to the line after being inserted into the lineup.
So far, if you're looking for signs of an upset, Northern Iowa doing 2 things well. Number 1, defensively rebounding the basketball, limiting Wichita State to 1 shot. And number 2, getting to the offensive glass and creating their own manufactured points.
That was Ted Friedman's 10th free throw attempt this season. Freshman from Iowa, 1 for 2 from the line. And it's a 1-point game, 13:45 to go. Here's Nick Wiggins, super sub for Greg Marshall.
You just never sense panic in their half-court sets. A lot of it's because of Fred VanVleet. He's always under control.
Lufiel with 10 on the shot clock, got his own miss. And he stepped on the baseline. Shadrach Lufiel, who you felt was the hero of their win against Indiana State.
He got every big rebound, and he's going to be key, especially as we look at the shoulder of Cleanthony Early. If he continues to nurse that shoulder and is not 100%, then the Shadrach Lufiels on the team have to step up and produce even more.
So Early and Baker on the bench. Where does the offense come from Wichita State?
Fred Van Vleet usually takes over in those situations. Watch him closely.
Here's Morgan. He had a great start to this game, but is called for traveling on that possession. And now Evan Wessel, number 3 in black, checks in for Greg Marshall. Both teams going to their bench early.
Well, Ben Jacobson has always been known for developing his team. And yes, they've been inconsistent. Yes, they are young. But this is February. You can't be young and inconsistent anymore.
Here's Wessel, right hand off the window.
Fred Van Vleet has great vision. Evan Wessel read the defender leaving, went right to the basket.
Van Vleet with the rebound, and there's a foul after that rebound.
You just saw the difference between two teams, one out of control with Wes Washburn at the point, and one under control with Fred Van Vleet at the point. That's how much point guards dictate winners and losers in college basketball.
And after a couple of offensive rebounds and putbacks for Northern Iowa to start the game, it seems like it's been a lot more one and done. Wichita State may be settling down a bit. Ben Jacobson made no secret about it earlier today, telling me it's all about rebounds against the Shockers. They must rebound the basketball. It's going to be a Northern Iowa foul. Baker set to check back in for Greg Marshall's club.
Fred Van Vleet brings a toughness to this basketball team. Late shot clocks, late games. He makes big plays. He brings that toughness to this team. We all talk about play angry. He's the best at it.
Here's the inbounds to Baker. Inside, Carter. Lost control, scrambled for the ball. Max Martino got it and got mugged in the process. But they called jump ball, and it's possession arrow, Shockers. Martino able to laugh it off, but the junior out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, got a face full of Shocker.
This is a street fight.
Wichita State came in here last year ranked 15th, walked out with a loss. What a lob to Carter off the inbounds from Van Vleet.
You can't sleep on Darius Carter. So long, so athletic.
Morgan, triple. Here comes Northern Iowa, a chance to take the lead with a 3 or tie with a bucket. That's blocked by Wiggins, but they're going to call offensive goaltender. Well, what makes Fred Van Vleet so special? Mark, talk to him about it.
You know what I think of?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Best point guard in the country. Right here.
We're working on
right
it, man.
now. If I'm coaching, this is the guy I want coaching my team on the floor
Yes,
every
sir.
night.
Yes, sir.
Fred Van Vleet.
All right. Appreciate you, man. See you.
Thank you, Chris. Well, Fred VanVleet is the unquestioned leader of this number 4 undefeated Wichita State team. He had 22 the last time they played Northern Iowa, and he's got a nearly 4-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. But numbers are only part of the story of what makes Fred VanVleet special.
Your dad passed away, and from what I read, a drug deal gone bad, right? When you were 5 years old. Obviously, you didn't have context when you were 5 years old. But when you got old enough to understand what happened, what did that mean to you, and what did you learn from it?
I think it just teaches you that everything happened for a reason. And as good and as impactful as your parents can be, they don't always have to determine your future. It just makes me appreciate life every day, and just seeing how my mom really worked hard for me and my brother trying to provide for us. And I think the biggest part of that was I'm a guy of faith. I think God put my stepdad in my life for a reason. And he's a big impact on my life.
Fred VanVleet had a tough time as a 5-year-old as his father was killed in a drug deal gone bad. But he won the lottery with a great mother and with a great stepfather. His stepfather, an Army veteran, who taught him the value of yes, sir, and no, sir, and brought discipline to his life. And Fred VanVleet brings that discipline to this Wichita State basketball team. What a success story of Fred VanVleet.
Sophomore out of Rockford, Illinois. The steadying force, the rudder of this Shocker ship. We're tied at 17. Mark Adams, Rich Hollenberg. ESPN Saturday Night Basketball in an electric atmosphere in Cedar Falls. One of the best home court advantages in the country. Northern Iowa trying to upset Wichita State and send them their first loss this season.
Well, Jeremy Morgan, the freshman, he's one of those rangy guys with a big upside. And Ben Jacobson believes that Jeremy Morgan's going to be the next star at Northern Iowa. I agree with him.
7 on the shot clock. Now 5 to shoot. VanVleet with 3 on the clock. What a follow by Wiggins. First 2 of the game from Nick Wiggins, the senior out of Toronto.
Freshman mistake. Jeremy Morgan didn't lay a body on anybody, and Wiggins made him pay.
Wiggins, of course, the older brother of Andrew Wiggins, who won earlier today against West Virginia with the Jayhawks. And they attend each other's games as often as they can.
Well, Anthony Early and Ron Baker went along with Nick to Fall Gallon Fieldhouse last week to watch Kansas play.
8 on the shot clock. Martino off the mark. And we have a whistle, and we're going the other way. Well, Ben Jacobson has to be happy with the contribution he's gotten from some of his bench players like Friedman and Martino. They stay on the floor, at least Martino does. And now Washburn and number 5 Matt Bohannon check back in, as does Marvin Singleton, who started this game.
It's fun to watch Ben Jacobson bring a new line in, like a hockey coach.
Foul on the floor as Ron Baker went for the blow-by. Max Martino whistled for the foul. And that's the 6th foul as a team for the Northern Iowa Panthers.
Remember, Wichita State has already scored off an out-of-bounds play.
Wiggins, baseline, short, and Washburn comes away with it. And that's going to be a Wichita State foul, and that's going to go on VanVleet. In-state rivalries highlight this week's Big Monday doubleheader. First at 7, it's a battle in the Sunshine State when the Hurricanes face the Seminoles. Then at 9, freshman Andrew Wiggins and the Jayhawks host in-state rival Kansas State. Big Monday presented by Verizon as part of Rivalry Week presented by Wendy's. Both games also live on Watch ESPN. As we mentioned, a nice win by KU today over West Virginia. Juwan Staten was getting a little bit of run for possible Big 12 Conference Player of the Year.
He's had just a monster year for Bob Huggins, but not enough to overcome the depth and talent of Kansas.
Shockers up 1. Under 10 to go. Wiggins blocked by Tuttle.
Really good ball movement by Wichita State as they put pressure on the defense. And look at Tuttle come from the backside. Seth Tuttle has good vision as a help defender, and he's got good enough length to change and block shots.
And he guards the inbounds, Baker. And it looks like they're going to get Lufiel with the foul off the inbounds.
Now, Northern Iowa was very well prepared on that out-of-bounds play. And Lufiel got a little bit frustrated. He couldn't get to his spot.
Is it true you can tell a lot about a coach's acumen from how they play and defend inbound sets like that?
And also how they respond coming out of timeouts, what play they run, what defense they switch to. It's fascinating to watch, and two of the best in the Valley here tonight.
Washburn feeds, extra pass, Tuttle.
That's what Wes Washburn brings. He's athletic enough and quick enough to get by defenders and put pressure on the Wichita State defense.
And they call traveling on Nick Wiggins. The crowd had to let us know that because you couldn't even hear the whistle. It was so loud in the McLeod Center. Well, more good news for the Panthers. After an 0-for-5 start, Seth Tuttle has settled down, hit his last 2 field goals. He's number 3 active leader in points scored in Missouri Valley. When it's all said and done, Mark, he'll go down as one of maybe the 10 best players all time in the Missouri Valley.
Well, Jake Cook, a guy that made his position famous here in Northern Iowa, a stretch 5-man that can knock down the 3-ball and put it on the floor and score.
Singleton, good defense by Colby.
Jake Cook and Adam Cook, both those guys played in Northern Iowa. The brothers both did a great job here. Adam Cook was the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year in his senior season.
And they're going to get Kadeem Colby for the region. Good defensive set, though, by Wichita State. And actually a peek over at the bench, you saw Greg Marshall actually congratulating his team, even though they called the foul.
Well, so far, Northern Iowa has had the advantage on the play-angry points. That's why they're ahead right now by 1. But remember, Wichita State, known for poor first halves. And then they hammered it in the second half.
And conversely, Northern Iowa has led 18 of their 23 games at the half.
Yep.
Only have an 11-12 record to show for it. Blocked. That's Colby with another one. And we're going to get the foul on Wes Washburn. Well, the officials have set the tone, Mark. They sense this could be chippy throughout, and they're calling a tight game.
Well, there was a little bit of a controversy before the game started where one of the baskets wasn't available for the warm-up for Wichita State. That kind of set the tone. A little bit of a chip on the shoulder for the guys that play angry with Greg Marshall. And he let his team know he wasn't very pleased about that circumstance.
Both teams in the bonus for the final 8 minutes, 12 seconds. That means they'll be shooting at least 1 free throw. It's a 1+ every subsequent foul. Here's Baker. Calmly knocks down the front end. He's an 84% free throw shooter. And Mark, that's another thing that's so impressive about this Wichita State team. In crunch time, you can count on the key players to knock down free throws.
One of the most productive trios in the country, and Ron Baker, Cleanthony Early, and Fred Van Vleet, all of them shoot in the mid-80s from the free throw line. Late game situation, that's why they're so solid.
Baker has 4. Wichita State back up by 1, counting down to 8 minutes to go in the first half. Here's Rank. Knocked his first one down, off the mark with the second. The Shockers get on you quick.
Even without Van Vleet on the floor, they roll Ron Baker to the point guard position, number 31 in black, and he makes good decisions.
Jump shot, Baker, no good. Weak side rebound, Early with the putback. Double digits already for Anthony Early.
Northern Iowa getting filleted on the backside glass. No one's laying bodies on black jerseys on the backside. That time it was Deion Mitchell who missed his assignment.
Anthony Early 3 for 4 from the field, 3 for 3 from the line. Here's Mitchell, 10 on the shot clock.
High ball screen.
There it is. Mitchell kicks it to Rank, baseline, nothing but air. Early spots it, nails it. 13 points for number 11 in black, a Wooden Award finalist. Anthony Early has put his team up 6 in their quest for 25-0. Wichita State on the road is doing it so far. .648 to go. Wichita State has built their largest lead of the game on the road, 26-20 against Northern Iowa. And let's talk about angry points, Mark, because in the beginning it was Northern Iowa who seemed to be playing angrier than the Shockers.
And the Shockers now have taken advantage of mental mistakes by Northern Iowa. You've got to lay a body on Greg Marshall's team. Otherwise, they're going to make you pay. Points in paint, second chance points so far. Wichita State +5 in the play angry categories. That's how you evaluate a coach. How his team responds coming out of a timeout. Well-designed play by Ben Jacobson.
There's a good answer by Ron Baker, who now has 6.
I like it when he goes to the point. This team is different with him at the point, and different in a good way. A little bit taller, strong with the ball.
Quick catch and fire by Matt Bohannon, shooting 49% from distance in conference play.
When Bohannon shoots well, usually they win. He shoots 46% from behind the arc during Northern Iowa wins. 10-second violation.
Well, we're under 6 minutes to go, and we've got a close one as anticipated.
Matt Bohannon, when he's hot, good news in Cedar Falls.
Welcome back to Cedar Falls, Iowa, in the McLeod Center. Saturday night basketball on ESPN2. Wichita State up 28-25 on Northern Iowa. ESPN's journey to the tourney continues Wednesday with a clash in the ACC as CJ Fair and the undefeated Orange take their perfect record on the road and battle the Panthers. ESPN's journey to the tourney, Syracuse-Pitt, Wednesday night at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Also live on Watch ESPN Now. Syracuse will be playing Clemson tomorrow before that game against Pittsburgh. But this is a perfect time to compare the two undefeated teams and their top 3 players.
There's a reason why these two teams are undefeated. As Fair, Ennis, and Cooney versus Early, Baker, and Van Vleet. There you see the points, slight advantage to Wichita State on rebounds, slight advantage on assists. Those two trios are as productive as anybody in the country. The other great trio, Sam Dower, Gary Bell, and Kevin Pangos at Gonzaga, have similar numbers. You win a lot of games with those guys.
Here's Tuttle. Got his own miss and put it back. And Seth Tuttle has 8 points.
Seth Tuttle is leading the game with his own block shots, but staying with it and finishing plays.
That foul's going to go on the freshman Jeremy Morgan, and Cleanthony Early will go to the line.
Seth Tuttle has gone to the school of hard knocks here tonight. He's been rejected multiple times, but it's not affecting his aggressiveness. That's what I like about him. He continues to attack the rim.
And you talk about playing with a chip on your shoulder. He had 3 points the last time these two teams met. You think that's in the back of his mind? I bet you it is.
We talked about it yesterday. And yes, it stuck in his craw enough that he had tickets to the Luke Bryan concert last night and didn't go because he wanted to remain focused on the Wichita State Shockers. That is sacrifice.
Maybe for Seth. Early misses the second free throw. Tuttle grabs the rebound. Chance to tie with a bucket, take the lead with a 3. 5:20 to go. Northern Iowa has made a habit of upsetting top-ranked teams here at home.
7 of the last 8 nationally ranked teams that came into Cedar Falls went home as losers.
They did it last year to the Shockers. They did it a couple years ago to the Iowa Hawkeyes. Here's Mitchell. Too strong with the 3. Cotton clears.
Ben Jacobson cannot like that set. Northern Iowa ran nothing in that half-court set.
Van Vleet with a hand in his face. Fred Van Vleet's first points of the game come from behind the stripe. There's a turnover by the Panthers.
You can't lead a postman. You got to hit him in the chest.
Van Vleet outside. Cotton, another 3. Yes! To Cale Cotton, his second 3 of the evening. 4 3-pointers for the Shockers, coming from 3 different players. Largest lead of the game. Here's a gut check for the Panthers. Washburn, runner, counted. Well, they needed an answer, and they got it from Wes Washburn.
No basket. They called a charge and no basket. Washburn comes in. See if the defender gets set. He's there a long time, and Washburn is a feast or famine player. 1 minute you say, great play, and the next minute you say, what are you thinking? And
so now they are going to count the basket. Offensive foul, but they do count the basket. So because Wichita State is in the bonus, they'll go to the other end of the floor and shoot a 1-on-1.
Watch Cleanthony Early. He's set. He is right there. That's absolutely the right call. He was there forever to set as a defender and establish position. And that's with a sore shoulder that he suffered earlier. Big deal. He's still going to step in and take the charge.
To the officials' credit, I think it was the right call to count the hoop, though.
Yeah.
Early so far 5 for 6 from the free throw line. Make it 6 for 7. And he's on pace for a season high night. He had his career high 39. He did that last year in his first year with the Shockers. His season high is 26. He already has 16 tonight. Coming up on 4 minutes to go. Northern Iowa trying to hang in with the fourth-ranked Shockers. Bohannon almost turns it over.
That was nearly a double dribble. Muff that dribble, was able to retrieve it.
Washburn just inside the three-point line. A two-pointer from Wes Washburn.
Famine to feast. He's fun to watch, I'll say that.
Here's Cotton from the wing. Off the mark, loose ball out of bounds. And they're going to say it went off Marvin Singleton, so it'll be Wichita State basketball when we return.
Wichita State, Darius Carter with the tip dunk. The rejection by Nick Wiggins. High flying and undefeated.
Thank you, Chris. 37-31, the fourth-ranked undefeated Shockers lead it on the road over Northern Iowa, 3:24 left. Mark, take us inside the play.
Watch feeding the post. You got Seth Tuttle right down here, and it has to be a direct pass right into his chest. Instead, it goes way left. You can't lead a postman that's posted up. You got to hit him in the chest. It turns into a turnover on the backside. Look how far this pass goes to left. No chance for Seth Tuttle. On the opposite side, watch Fred Van Vleet as he recognizes his personnel and finds a wide open teammate, and Tequil Cotton knocks it down. That's the vision that Fred Van Vleet brings to this basketball team.
Balanced scoring from both clubs, too. UNI has 8 players in the scoring column already, 7 for Wichita State.
It's those little things. When you're going to play the number 4 team in the country and you're looking for an upset in Cedar Falls, you got to enter the ball in the post in an effective way.
They lead at 18-12 points in the paint so far. That's a big victory for Northern Iowa. Van Vleet probes, takes it himself. Great body balance by Fred Van Vleet. He has 5.
He makes backbreaking baskets. As soon as you think you got a little momentum coming your way, he just shuts everybody up in the building. He's one of the best shut-up players in the country.
And Greg Marshall said no one wants to win more than him. Do they count the basket?
if Van Vleet jump in and get Cleanthony early right away so it doesn't escalate. It's a scrum underneath the basket.
They're going to count the three-pointer from Chip Rank and call the foul on Cleanthony early. So Marvin Singleton will go to the line.
But here's the difference in Cleanthony early. A year ago, he would sulk. He's going to come back focused. And there's a good exchange between coach and player that a year ago may not have happened that way.
And Singleton completes the 4-point play and has a chance to make it a 5-point play. Mark this time down, 2:49 to go in the first half. Wichita State was up 6. And if Singleton makes this free throw, which he does not, it stays a 4-point game.
Well, this is Northern Iowa's opportunity with Cleanthony early out of the game. This is usually where Van Vleet takes control of his offense.
Inside, Lufiel. And Shadrach Lufiel has his first 2 with a nifty move under the basket and got the foul.
Seth Tuttle is out of the game right now. So what does Van Vleet do? He sets his offense to the left-hand side to isolate Shadrach Lufiel down low, and Cotton gets it in perfectly to the low block. He hit him right between the numbers with the bounce pass.
Shadrach Lufiel had his first double-double of the year, 10 points, 11 boards against Indiana State. He now has 3 off of that 3-point play.
Seth Tuttle back in the game because of that mismatch.
Good hedge by Carter. Martino missed the 3. Van Vleet clears for the Shockers.
Van Vleet has a mismatch and knows it.
Short on that 3. Bohannon rebounds. Chance to cut it to a 2-possession ball game with 2 minutes to go in the first half.
I'd like to see Tuttle get a touch.
Mitchell himself, no. Lufiel, another rebound. Cotton, nice leave. Ball goes out of bounds, and it was off Darius Carter. It's going to be Northern Iowa basketball. One of the top scorers in the NBA headlines ABC's NBA Sunday Showcase. First at 1, Kevin Durant tries to keep the Thunder atop the West when they host Carmelo and the Knicks. Then at 3:30, Joakim Noah and the Bulls head to Hollywood to face Nick Young and the Lakers. NBA Showcase on ABC. It all starts with NBA Countdown presented by Speed Stick Gear at 12:30. Good news for the Lakers, Steve Nash is back.
Kevin Durant has gotten scary good. He could dominate you by himself.
Tuttle working hard, but blocked by Lufiel. Stay-at-home defense by the Shockers. And a timeout wisely called by Matt Bohannon. Well, Cleanthony early had to check out and go to the bench after that last foul, but he's been sensational otherwise with 16 points.
It's because of all the different things that he does. He opened the game on this possession and banged the 3. And then what I like about him best, he goes to the offensive glass and is willing to accept contact. He's got good footwork on the perimeter. You can invert him, put him on the block, and he'll go manufacture points for you on the offensive glass. The last 5 games, he's upped those numbers over 19 points per game.
And he's made it to the top 25 in the Wooden Watch, averaging over 16, 6.5 rebounds, shooting it very well from the field. He's playing this year like a veteran.
He has had double figures 22 out of 24 games so far this season, and he's taken more of a leadership role. There's no question this is Fred Van Vleet's basketball team, but he showed tremendous maturity this season.
His season high is 26. He put in 18 last time against Northern Iowa. Well on his way with 16 here tonight.
There's that slip.
Tuttle all alone. Seth Tuttle's in double digits with 10. Under a minute to go. Baker. Around and out. Offensive rebound. And Darius Carter will go to the line.
Wichita State sometimes cheats on the all-ball screen. Look at LaFeel, how far he comes out, which gives the indication for Seth Tuttle to go right to the rim. Well read on the slip of the screen.
You know, we heard that McLeod Center crowd at full throat there, and you sense maybe a little shift in momentum. That's where I got to believe that run to the Final Four last year really benefits this Shockers team and how to handle that.
And Rich, look what they did from an X's and O's perspective. They moved the ball left and right, which puts pressure on the defense, and Northern Iowa switches off of screens. So when the shot goes up, all of a sudden you got a Darius Carter on a mismatch going to the offensive glass. That's poise right there from an X's and O perspective.
Talked to Ron Baker earlier, who said he wants to be nice, angry. Here comes Northern Iowa. About a 7-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock, but Ben Jacobson content to pull it out for one. Here's Cotton, best defender on the Shockers, guarding Mitchell. Forced the turnover. Baker came away with it and got a timeout. Loose ball, hustle, aggressive defense. That's Wichita State. 12.6 left. They're going to have a perfect time to get a good look going into halftime. Already up 7. Take a moment right now to give you a look at the Missouri Valley standings as they stand right now. Of course, Wichita State 11-0 on this 24-0 jaunt to start the season. They beat Indiana State twice already. They beat Missouri State once. They have them at the end of the season in the first weekend in March. So really at this point, there's a big logjam who's still jockeying for that second seed in the Arch Madness contest that'll be taking place at the beginning of March. It's Wichita State and everybody else at this point. So it'll be last shot time for Greg Marshall's club, already up 7. They've handled a couple of gut checks from the Northern Iowa Panthers. One at the start of the game, and now they have a chance to go to the locker room with the lead. 5 seconds. Here's Van Vleet. Time running out. Cotton, it's good if it goes. And it's off the mark. Takale Cotton misses that 3 at the buzzer. And the undefeated Wichita State Shockers on the road will go into the locker room with a 7-point lead, 44-37. Let's go to Mark Adams with Greg Marshall.
Greg, how do you evaluate your team's play angry attitude in the first half?
Might have played angry, but we didn't play very smart. That disappoints me. It's too many mental errors, too many breakdowns on little things we try to tweak defensively. We got to get that under control. We got to play angry, but at the same time, we got to execute and be solid.
If there's one thing you want to tweak for the second half, what's that one thing?
Just our level of intelligence. I think we're playing hard, shooting the ball well, but we can't have the defensive breakdowns that we're having on this end. Now it'll be that in the second half.
Thanks, Greg. Back to you, Rich.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Greg. Now we go to our Land Rover halftime report. Chris Cotter, Miles Simon, Andy Katz with scores, updates on Big 12 games. Guys, take it away.
Thank you, Rich. Land Rover halftime. Miles Simon, Andy Katz with you. And got Cincinnati riding a 15-game winning streak in Dallas, taking on SMU. An SMU team yet to lose at home this year. They would keep this up. Full court press by the Bearcats, broken by the Mustangs. Marcus Kennedy with the dunk. Andy, they're off and running.
Well, Larry Brown and Tim Jankovic have done a great job of blending transfers, high-profile high school senior and Keith Frazier, and they've got the right mix, and they've got Moody Magic rocking right now.
Nick Russell would come up with that one on your own?
No, I saw it. Okay.
Is Storm the court? Oh, of course, a legitimate Storm. Biggest win of the year for them, and they've had a couple of big ones at home. They need to get that signature road win in the American, and they'll have some opportunities later in the year, but a big win for SMU. Would be a big win for Northern Iowa if they can get the win, but right now trailing by 7 at the half. And Miles, this Shocker team shooting almost 54% from the floor right now. Offensively, they've got it going on. What are they doing well?
Well, the thing that they do well is they space the floor. And even when Fred VanVleet goes out of the game, Ron Baker takes over at the point guard spot, and they don't skip a beat. And as we see what they did here in the first half, the spacing on the floor, you see almost 4 guys outside the arc. You see Cleanthony early in the corner. 2 guys go to block out, leaves early open on the weak side. The spacing, they have to pick and choose who they're going to block out. Then they come into this dragged ball screen. Baker, who's usually the shooting guard, perfect execution on the pick and pop. Cleanthony early, who had hurt his shoulder early in the game, he's been on fire. 16 points, but Wichita State just so effective on the offensive end. #1 in offensive efficiency in the Missouri Valley.
I mentioned how they were shooting almost 54% from the floor. There you can see the shot chart right there. Close game early, Andy, and also kind of a battle of I guess you could say emotional swings. I mean, Northern Iowa came out strong. Wichita State sort of took that, as you might expect, that first blow on the road, and then they responded.
You cannot emphasize enough how for schools like in a conference like the Missouri Valley Conference, every time an elite team in that conference goes on the road, they are getting the best shot. We're seeing a packed house at Northern Iowa. We saw the same thing at Indiana State. That's what Gonzaga gets in the WCC. That's what Davidson, when they had Steph Curry, got in the Southern Conference. Butler, when they were at the height of the horizon. These guys have proven year after year in the last 2 years they can handle that pressure. They were in the Final Four last year, and I think, Miles, you would agree with me here, 97-98. You almost maybe had a better team in 98, maybe?
We did.
Didn't win it.
I do agree with you.
After going to the Final Four and winning a championship, that second year, when you've got that experience coming back, this team may be better than a year ago.
Something special in the state of Iowa today. Not only do you have Northern Iowa with an opportunity to hand Wichita State their first loss, we go to Ames, where Iowa State, we saw a record day, and it was about Melvin Edgem right here. Andy, this guy was on fire from start to finish, and you're going to see a lot of dunks.
Yeah, Fred Hoiberg told me in a text tonight that he said Edgem just found his zone. He was rebounding well. He says he couldn't believe how impressive it is that he set the Iowa State record with 48 points, and that's coming from the mayor, who was one of Iowa State's all-time great players.
Here you can see he set a conference record with 48 points, and dating back to the 06-07 season, here are the last 4 Big 12 players with 35 and 15. That's a pretty good list.
Yeah, and we have to mention how efficient it was. It didn't take him 35 shots to do it. 20 of 24 from the field, along with those 18 rebounds. He did it with a limited amount of shots to get the 48 points.
Let's head down the road to Iowa City, where Roy Devin Marble and Iowa is hosting Michigan. And this was a story of Mike Gazelle distributing here, Andy, and finding Roy Devin Marble.
8 assists, 1 turnover. He's been a very calming presence for this Iowa team.
Yeah, and it's Roy Devin Marble with a stud, 22 points in the first half, ended with 26, and they got out of the break.
Well, what's amazing, Iowa's one of the best teams in sharing the ball across the country today. 22 assists on 29 baskets. Michigan only had 22 field goals themselves.
So Iowa gets the big win at home. Duke was on the road. Jabari Parker, he just seems unstoppable. What do you see what he did today at Conti against Boston College? Highlights coming.
You're watching the Land Rover Halftime Report.
Kevin Pangos and Gonzaga visiting the FedEx Forum in Memphis. Game day is there. This one over on ESPN. Gary Bell Jr. with the steal. Eventually gets into Kevin Pangos' hands, and Sam Dower with the finish.
Sam Dower has been the best player for the Zags as of late. 18 points per game over his last 7.
Jack Goodwin battling, getting his own board. Working it around. Eventually, Jaron Johnson with the baseline jam. This is part of an 11-0 run, and right now it's a 3-point lead for the Bulldogs, though, at the half on the road.
Great timing for Gonzaga to get this game in the middle of sort of a WCC that they're going to run away with.
It's been great timing for Jabari Parker pretty much every time he steps on the court. This year, nobody seems to be able to stop him, and certainly today, Boston College had no answer for him, Miles.
He just seems refreshed after the first 4 league games where he really struggled. He's found his legs. He's on attack mode, and he's really scoring in the paint, not settling for perimeter jumpers.
He just seems unstoppable right now, running out on the break, the athleticism. Duke wins easily in what was a close game at the half. Career high 29 and 16 for Jabari Parker. Andrew Wiggins, here's another freshman who's really starting to play well at home against West Virginia. What happens on this play, Miles?
Well, miscommunication by the Mountaineers. Aaron Harris, who was guarding Wiggins, thought they were going to switch. Terry Ellis slips out, and then they lose the best athlete in the gym, and he's wide open for the slam.
Shows the athleticism here as well. Nobody puts a body on him, boxing out, gets the putback slam. Jayhawks up 7, and then great bench performance here by Kansas as well. Frank Mason with a bucket and 1.
Yeah, Frank Mason, Tarek Black, Jamari Traylor, they combined for 22 and 10, including 5 assists for Frank Mason.
All right, Rick Barnes in Texas on the road at Kansas State, and Texas has been one of the great stories here in the second half of the year, but I tell you what, Andy, this was all about Marcus Foster.
Well, Foster had a sensational game. K-State only had 1 game this week. They've got Kansas on Monday. Bruce Weber tweeting after about how this team sort of came together. Great game for them at Bramlage. And Texas was shorthanded, Miles. Jonathan Holmes only played 9 minutes. Got a right knee injury. He's going to have an MRI Sunday. Well, that could be a real crushing blow for the Longhorns if he's out.
Yeah, because they have a big home game on Tuesday against Oklahoma State.
Who's calling that?
Miles Simon.
One Miles Simon. 34 points for Foster. He had an unbelievable day. Some other scores. St. Louis survives on the road at LaSalle. Oklahoma, good win. Kentucky as well. Florida continues to roll in the SEC.
This halftime report is presented by Land Rover. Above and beyond. This halftime report is presented by Land Rover. Above and beyond.
Land Rover halftime. Simon Katz-Cotter, Rick Pitino, and a chicken in attendance for Minnesota and Indiana. What's going on here?
That's his other son, Ryan. Rick texted me and said that his son, Ryan, lost a bet at UBS in Manhattan, where he works.
And you can bet on Yogi Ferrell. He's been on fire lately. Pulls up, hits the three. Hoosiers up early. Second half, though, Malik Smith. Great pass here to Maurice Walker. And this is one of those games Minnesota's got to get a W here. They lead right now by 4 points with 3.
No more chicken soup
left.
there.
No, had to remove the chicken suits. Western Kentucky, Arkansas, Little Rock, buzzer beater here. Less than 5 seconds left. Hilltoppers trailing. Trentzy Jackson. Look at that flying mare setup there, Miles.
Well, you got to make him change direction at least one time. He just walked right into a three-point shot.
All right, less than 5 seconds left in Pac-12 play. Oregon trailing by 2. Going to take the ball down the court on the road, looking for the equalizer here. Joseph Young has a shot, but Andy, what happens here?
Jordan Brzezinski, Miles, the best Pac-12 shot blocker.
Yep, and stick a fork in the Ducks because they're done.
Is that a ASU fork?
That is.
They just stuck it in him today. Meanwhile, Cleanthony early, 16 in the first half. Hitting the jumper here, can do it from inside, outside. Second half from Iowa on the way.
Back at halftime, college basketball from Cedar Falls, Iowa in the Missouri Valley Conference. The undefeated 4th-ranked Wichita State Shockers up 7 on Northern Iowa on the road. Back in the McLeod Center, Mark Adams, Rich Hollenberg. And Mark, I guess the good news for the Northern Iowa Panthers, when you talk about angry points, they're actually winning that battle against undefeated Wichita State, and yet they find themselves trailing by 7.
Well, and the reason is because of mismatches, and Cleanthony early has taken advantage of those mismatches, whether it be on the perimeter or in the paint. He's run the floor and he's scored, and he's done it in ways that are very, very interesting. Look at the spacing that leads to offensive glass here. You've got 5 guys right at the three-point line. And what does that do? It allows Cleanthony early to go right to the offensive glass and make plays in that way. There you see all 5 guys behind the arc. Cleanthony early then has an avenue to the offensive glass. The shot goes up. Nobody lays a body on him. and he's long enough and athletic enough to make the play. The post diagonal pass. Watch the defender as they double down on the post. Lack of rotation. Ron Baker reads it. He flattens out into the vision range, and because the defender has to make a decision, Anthony Early then is left wide open underneath the basket. It's that spacing and ball movement that have made Wichita State effective here in the first half.
16 points, 4 for 5 from the field. Only 1 miss from the free throw line. As a matter of fact, Wichita State 11 for 12 from the charity stripe in the first half. A big reason why they're up 7. 20 minutes to go till 25-0 for Wichita State. Here's Marvin Singleton starting off strong.
He started to bring an inside presence and an offensive rebounder against this play-angry Wichita State attack.
There's Cotton, kicks it back out. Early. And we're going the other way. Anthony Early with his second personal foul. So first 30 seconds gone by in the second half, and Northern Iowa with a chance to make it a one-possession ball game. Here's the freshman Jeremy Morgan bringing it up. He had a great first half, a lot of energy for the Panthers.
And they're going to need him to play well. He's a big three-man that can go get offensive rebounds. That's why Northern Iowa was effective in the first half.
Mitchell, no good in the paint. Scramble for the ball. Bohannon. Blocked by Colby. And a foul. Seth Tuttle will go to the line. Let's take a look at your first half numbers. What jumps out at you, Mark?
Well, Wichita State at 54%. And look at the three-point shooting for both ball clubs. Very effective. These two teams are known for being great defensive teams. Points in the paint advantage Northern Iowa. Second chance points advantage Northern Iowa. That's why they're still in this game.
Seth Tuttle has 11 points. He leads all Panthers scorers and is a 76% free throw shooter. And he's been on quite a run lately, Seth Tuttle has, the junior out of Sheffield, Iowa. 15 or more points in his last 7 games, including 4 of those times 20 or more points.
Yeah, his last 9, he's averaging over 17 points per game and shooting 57% from the floor.
You've got a 3-point ball game. And you can hear Panther pride again.
Pushed off.
Officials saw it as well. And that's 2 quick fouls to start the second half from number 20, Kadeem Colby.
Yeah, Kadeem Colby got a little bit anxious to get the basketball, and he pushed off of a 5'11" guy. He really didn't need to.
That's 3 fouls on Colby. We'll see how long he stays on the court for Greg Marshall. Panthers can tie with a 3.
Northern Iowa plus 15 play-angry points in the first half.
Singleton. Nice move by Marvin Singleton. He has 4 points in the second half, 7 in the game, and it's a 1-point contest. And another hand check foul, and it's going to go on Singleton. What do we talk about when we talk about angry points?
Points in the paint, points off turnovers, second chance points. Wichita State plus 17 per game versus their opponents, minus 16 right now. That means potential upset for Northern Iowa.
They've seen it before here in the McLeod Center. They picked off Wichita State last year when they were ranked 15th. They picked off Iowa a couple of years ago, ranked 10th in the country. There's a Shockers turnover. Scramble for the ball. Possession arrow, Wichita State.
Darius Carter and Seth Tuttle introducing themselves to each other on the floor of the McLeod Center.
I got to tell you, I like to see that out of Seth Tuttle because he had a few of his shots blocked in the first half. He has 12 points on the game, but but now he's showing that he means business.
Yeah, he hasn't backed down. That's what I've liked about Seth Tuttle. He's probably had 3-4 of his shots blocked, but he just continues to attack. That's maturity by Seth Tuttle.
Shocker spread it out 4 wide on the inbounds. And Jeremy Morgan got shaken up on that last collision. 3rd foul on the freshman Morgan.
The Missouri Valley has a lot of Big Ten in it. Very, very physical. Teams that go after each other. There's the elbow right there. To Jeremy Morgan's throat.
Yeah, the officials are going to review right now, it looks like. Anytime there's an elbow involved in an infraction like this, they're going to go to the official review table and check it out. And that's exactly what the officiating crew is doing right now.
He's just bringing his left arm up to be a target for a pass potentially. That's a basketball play.
Absolutely.
He's just calling for the ball. I don't think that's malicious. I don't think it's a flagrant one.
No, to be honest with you, I don't even know if he knew Jeremy Morgan was behind him.
Yeah.
Well, if it is called a flagrant one, 2 shots in the ball.
Flagrant one, excessive and or unnecessary. Not a legitimate play on the ball. Hold or push from behind. Flagrant 2, excessive, severe. It's not that for sure. I don't think it's either.
I think the officials made the correct call when the play happened, and I think they'll agree with that after they huddle up. 17:46 to go, a 1-point game. This has been tense and taut throughout here inside the McLeod Center in Cedar Falls. 2 teams kind of going in opposite directions. Panthers have lost 4 of their last 5, and yet a Jekyll and Hyde team because they play extraordinarily well in front of their home crowds. They're 8-1 at home this year, and yet you're talking about a Wichita State team, which you noted at the top of this telecast, Mark, is not only the best in the Valley, but the best in the country in road winning percentage.
34-8 over the last 3+ seasons for Wichita State. The top winning percentage on the road in the country. And Northern Iowa shoots 42% in their wins from behind the arc. That is hard to guard.
So it's Wichita State ball, no flagrant foul call. Baker takes it, whistle on the play.
The officials are going to call this very close. The more physical it becomes, the more chippy it becomes. This veteran group of officials is not going to lose control of this basketball game. I like the way they're calling the game.
And that now the 3rd foul on number 11 in white, Wes Washburn. 7 points for Baker. Ron Baker's 37-2 as a starter in his 2 years with the Wichita State club.
Well, his parents were heavily involved in his athletic career growing up. His dad and mom both coached him through multiple sports. He's a kid that's very well schooled in how to win.
Three-point lead, only 1 miss from the free throw line for Wichita State, which likes to make a living getting to the free throw line. Here's Singleton, throws it to the bench, and a rare unforced error for Northern Iowa.
Now, Marvin Singleton, you got to stay aggressive and attack the rim right there. Like the extra pass, being unselfish, but right there, you got to be a little bit selfish and finish that play.
Looked like he had a clear path to the basket, at very least to draw a foul. Here's Mitchell on Van Vleet. Great point guard matchup. Van Vleet into the teeth of the defense. 7 points for Fred Van Vleet.
That little subtle lift fake from the 3-point line, and then totally under control. He's quick, but never in a hurry.
Back up to a 5-point cushion for the Shockers. Good hedge by Colby. That's going to be number 4 on Kadeem Colby. And now Greg Marshall's going to have to take him out. And that's why I'm not the head coach. Colby stays in the game.
He didn't know. His assistant coaches were late in giving him the information.
Tuttle blocked by Colby. And if that's going to be on Kadeem Colby, I believe he's gone.
And here's where you got to use judgment and not go for the shot.
Well, fortunately for the Shockers, that's only foul number 4 on Kadeem Colby. I will officially not be in consideration for being on Wichita State's coaching staff.
Yeah, the assistant coaching staff was late in letting Greg Marshall know, and the ball became live, and he sent Shadrach Lufiel immediately to check in, but it was too late.
Lufiel grabbed the rebound, almost had it knocked away, but Baker's Johnny on the spot.
You always have one assistant coach that tracks fouls for you, and he can tackle you if need be to let you know what the situation is.
Van Vleet under pressure. Offensive rebound, Carter, loose ball. And look at Van Vleet, smallest player on the floor, came away with it. That would have been a dagger of a 3. Bohannon comes away.
And Van Vleet almost got it back again.
Washburn feeds the post.
They clear out for Tuttle.
Here's Washburn from the corner. Crowd wanted to explode on that one. Darius Carter, great jump stop.
He called for it and exposed the defenders. That was a quick move.
6-point lead. 4.5 gone by. Singleton off to the left. Lufiel the rebound. The bump and the bucket. Back-to-back outstanding possessions from Darius Carter and the Shockers.
For what I want in a point guard, I think Fred VanVleet is the best point guard in the country, and Darius Carter right there with the finish.
15-18 to go in the contest. Shockers with an 8-point lead over the Panthers, 52-44. One of the great traditions in college basketball, and one of the reasons we love being here at Cedar Falls. The Northern Iowa Panthers interlude dance always takes place at the first time out of the second half. The whole crowd gets into it, especially the student section.
Very festive atmosphere right now as the Panthers down 8, but hanging with the number 4 team in the country, Wichita State.
As far as the action on the court, the last couple of possessions, we've seen why Fred VanVleet is your pick as top point guard in the nation.
He's quick, but never in a hurry. Fred VanVleet. If I'm coaching a team, he's my number 1 choice because, number 1, he attacks defensively at the point of attack. He causes problems and gets defensive steals just like that. I like him because he makes clutch plays. As the clock runs down, he's not afraid to take and make big shots. I like him because he has great vision. He sees 2 defenders come his way. He recognizes the passing angle and knocks it down. For what I want in a point guard, check, check, check. That's the kind of guy I want leading my team.
And another typical night for VanVleet, 7 points, 4 rebounds, 0 turnovers. And Carter's free throw now gives the Shockers their largest lead of the night.
There's a reason why Syracuse and Wichita State are undefeated. Tyler Ennis, only a freshman. Fred VanVleet, only a sophomore. And when I look at point guards, those are the 2 best point guards in the country in my view.
Good hands by Ron Baker, tipped it out of bounds. It'll stay Panthers basketball. Wasn't it Mark Twain who said youth is wasted on the young? He never saw these guys play ball.
Definitely never saw these 2 guys. They play well beyond their years.
Here's Morgan, another freshman. Five minutes gone by in the second half. Largest lead for the Shockers.
Wichita State goes 2-3 zone. You rarely see this.
Why are they doing that, Mark?
They want to force them to shoot the 3 ball, and you and I just took the bait.
Chance to push the lead to double digits. Shockers showing great discipline on offense.
Well,
10 on the shot
panic.
clock. Cotton with 5. Baker to Cotton. Ball movement, money.
Fundamental basketball by Ron Baker. That lift fake was as good as it gets. And then he could draw the extra defender and find a wide open teammate. It's the fundamentals of this basketball team that make a difference.
That is an offensive basketball team in sync. Here's Mitchell with 10 to shoot. Deep 3, hand in his face, too strong. VanVleet the rebound.
Look at the difference in shot selection the last couple possessions.
12-1 Wichita State run.
Watch the ball move to and fro. It puts pressure on the defense.
Quick catch and shoot. And Ron Baker got fouled. It looks like it's by Martino. And if it was behind the stripe, that's the cardinal sin. Foul was called inside instead. And wholesale substitutions now for Ben Jacobson, who needs to shake things up.
Now Seth Tuttle, they need his offense. Bohannon, they need him to step up and start making some threes. Jeremy Morgan brought energy in the first half. All those guys back in the game.
Sorry, Mark. Interestingly enough, he subbed 3 guys in, but Jeremy Morgan stayed on the floor. He has 4 fouls.
Well, Wes Washburn, number 11 in white, he's inserted in the game now to create pace for Northern Iowa.
Washburn gambled, came up empty. In the field, crowd wanted to travel. Knocked away by Morgan. Wessel lines it up, too strong. And Singleton snares it for the Panthers.
It's a physical rebound for Singleton.
Tuttle posting up Blue Field. What does Ben Jacobson want to do on this offensive set?
I think they really wanted to get Seth Tuttle. They got him isolated on the right-hand block, and then he gave it up and reposted it. I think he wanted it again. They didn't recognize it and get it to him.
Seth Tuttle leads all UNI scorers. He has 13. He averages 14.6 a game. And now Shadrack Luffield goes to the bench, and Darius Carter, who's been a major contributor, especially in the second half, comes back in. Bohannon, pull-up, jumper, baseline is good.
He's the guy that can lead them back because he can score threes in bunches. Number 5, Matt Bohannon.
That two-pointer cuts the lead to 10.
Wichita State making Northern Iowa show defensive patience. They're making them stay in a stance for 30 seconds each possession.
6 to shoot. Cotton lost it, but got it right back. Look at him jump for that offensive rebound. To Cale Cotton, one of the best leapers in the country.
Fundamental basketball. Look at the lift fake right there. Ron Baker goes by the defender, draws a second one. To Cale Cotton, you are wide open.
Chris Cotter in studio at a sold-out United Spirit Arena in Lubbock. Over on ESPNU, Oklahoma State having all kinds of problems with Texas Tech. Jamal Williams hitting the step back right now. It's a 2-point lead for the Red Raiders. Sam Dower here with a putback on this miss for Gonzaga. He has 14 and 7 right now, but Memphis went on an 8-0 run. Still, Zags leading by 6 over on ESPN. Back to Cedar Falls.
Thanks, Chris. Wichita State up 10, 56-46, 11:36 to go. Wichita State has assisted on 11 of their 18 field goals. Mark, take us inside the play.
Watch the lift fake by Ron Baker right there and then freeze it. Look how he draws the defender here and can pass out to a wide open to Cale Cotton. The lift fake got him by his defender. He drew Cotton's defender and then gives it up. Unselfish, fundamental basketball.
And when you talk about being 24-0, going for 25-0, the road to unbeaten, well, it's a difficult one. 46 teams have started 20-0. 26 teams have started 25-0. Memphis from 2007-2008 was the last team to go 25-0. Mark, they ended up going all the way to the national championship game.
And look at the bottom. 2 teams started 22-0 following a Final Four. Who are they? Wichita State, who lost to Louisville last year, and Syracuse, both undefeated right now.
And we'll see Syracuse tomorrow on ESPNU. ACC Sunday Night Basketball taking on Clemson. It'll be a sea of orange, the Tigers and the Orangemen.
In your mind, they will all be from Syracuse.
Cotton misses the first. He has 9 points, all via the 3. Northern Iowa struggling, Mark, just 1 field goal in the last 7 minutes.
Northern Iowa has not been known for being a good second-half team. Wichita State has been known for being a stellar second-half team.
2 free throw misses by Cotton. That's rare. The Shockers have been virtually perfect from the free throw line tonight.
Now, Rich, you talk about the pressure of being undefeated, and oftentimes we talk about, if it's a close game, it gets a lot of pressure on Wichita State. I haven't seen that. I've seen pressure on everybody else.
Carter, another big block. I agree.
I saw it at Indiana State the other night. Indiana State had Wichita State on the ropes. They didn't make free throws coming down the stretch. They're 6 for 20.
Darius Carter's having a field day in the second half on both ends of the floor. Double digits for Darius Carter. Morgan catching fire, too strong. Cotton the rebound.
A lot of jump shots coming from Northern Iowa.
And a foul on the floor. Mark, this game has a chance to get out of hand in a real quick way, because if there's one thing you know from covering the Wichita State Shockers, they are closers. They don't give games away with 5 minutes and less to play.
And the reason for that, I believe, is number 23, and Ben Jacobson knows it. His team down right now. Hard to get back in the game because Van Vleet controls every possession. He makes you play defense, and he gets it to the right players at the right time.
And now, with Wichita State up 12 and at the line, Seth Tuttle, their best offensive player, has just gone to the bench for Northern Iowa. Cotton gets the first one. It's a 13-point game. And he looks gassed, completely out of steam.
He's having to run and chase Darius Carter in the 94-foot situation. And Carter has been very effective in the half-court sets as well.
So it's going to be a smaller lineup, Mark, for the Northern Iowa Panthers. Who gets the ball?
And that's also where Nate Buss being injured for this game, they don't have a backup big guy to bring in and give Seth Tuttle a spell. That's a big disadvantage for Northern Iowa.
Yeah, this is the 3rd game that Nate Buss has missed. He's been their super sub, first on the team in field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. Number 14 in white, been riding the pine with a left knee injury. Near turnover, and it is. Ooh, and Van Vleet went down awkwardly and is grabbing his right knee. Right in front of the Northern Iowa bench, and Fred Van Vleet almost stopped himself mid-split and went to the floor.
I could hear the collective gasp in Wichita, Kansas.
Let's remember earlier in the first half, first minute of the game, Cleanthony Early went down with a shoulder issue. He was able to come back, and now Van Vleet. Good news for Shocker fans, at least from the eyeball test, able to walk off, although limping.
Watch his left knee, how it slightly buckles, turns to the inside right there. He rotates on that, and it kind of rotated toward the inside. But he's putting weight on it. He's jumping up and down on it. That's good news for Wichita State. We're going to check him out thoroughly.
Wiggins misses. 14-point Wichita State lead, 10 minutes to 25-0. The bump and the bucket for Washburn. Let's see if that gets him started. 7 points for Wes Washburn.
Wes Washburn off the dribble. Remember, Northern Iowa has been settling for jump shots. Washburn, the one guy on this roster that can break you down off the dribble and attack off the glass. He's exciting to watch.
Make it 8 points for Washburn.
Full court pressure here, but no trap. Washburn is supposed to trap, and he went with Ron Baker instead. Defensive miscue. Ben Jacobson was rolling the dice, trying to manufacture a turnover, and Washburn didn't know what defense they were in.
Quick check of Fred VanVleet on the end of the Shockers bench. He's still standing up. But I guess you assume it's good news that he's not being attended to right now by anybody on the Shockers training staff as the ball goes out of bounds.
Without VanVleet in the game, what does Ben Jacobson do? He says, hey, their point guard's out of the game. We're going after Ron Baker. We're going to trap him. We're going to make him break the full court pressure. It's a good move.
They get it across court to Wiggins. Baker does have experience running the point.
He's very good at it, but I think it's a good test. I think it's something you have to try to get back in the game.
Adversity for the Shockers comes in the form of injury. Three to shoot. Cotton. Too strong. Washburn. They've got numbers. Here's Bohannon. Transition.
They're trapping. Good job by Baker, getting rid of it quickly.
Nice look. The give and go. And the throwdown from Takale Cotton.
The post-to-post double came, and Cotton read it perfectly and knifed right to the basket.
13 for Cotton. Bohannon. Can't connect this time.
They got numbers.
Eight and a half to go. Deep three, Baker. Offensive board, Carter.
Darius Carter is carving up the interior defense of Northern Iowa. He's just too good and too long and too quick.
12 points for him, and keep in mind, Cleanthony Early's been on the bench during this stretch. Carter comes away with it. The role players for the Shockers playing a major role against the Panthers. And VanVleet and Early both set to check back in.
Darius Carter looks gassed.
There's Cotton, who had that big-time throwdown last time down.
We're seeing the Final Four experience coming out right now. This team just has poise because of their big game experiences.
Takale Cotton, another highlight-worthy move. Mark that one down in your SC Top 10 play nominee. And a timeout on the floor. Largest lead of the game for the undefeated fourth-ranked Wichita State Shockers, 66-52. And Takale Cotton doing what he does best, acrobatic around the rim. Well, the 1991 UNLV Runnin' Rebels, the last team to run the table in the regular season. With a win tonight, Wichita State is 6 games away from doing that too, and they're on their way here. Up 14 with 7:23 to go in the second half, and it's been some role players playing a major role in the second half for the Shockers.
Darius Carter, one of those guys that brings a long, athletic dude that can dunk on your head very, very well. And look at the passing. Deion Mitchell loses complete vision, and Tequil Cotton, who I believe is one of the most underrated players in the Missouri Valley, knifes through the defense and finishes right there. Tequil Cotton is a great defender, and Darius Carter gives him interior defense and a guy that can play with his back to the basket.
Well, call it the CNC Music Factory. At least that's what our producer Greg Logan wanted to call it. He's a big fan of 1980s music. 18 of their 22 points for the Shockers scored by Cotton and Carter. And a couple of premier programs squaring off Sunday afternoon on ESPN. Shoney Schimmel and the Cardinals face a tough road test against the top team in the nation when they take on Breanna Stewart and the Huskies. Louisville versus UConn women's basketball Sunday at 1 on ESPN. Also live on Watch ESPN. If you've never seen the Louisville Lady Cardinals play, they call it Schimmel Showtime. She is fun to watch. And Fred VanVleet and Cleanthony Early have checked back into the game. 3-point shooting.
33% tonight. In their losses, they shoot 30.
No basket going the other way. That leads us to our next media timeout. 7:08 to go. It's been all Wichita State in the second half, up 14.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by the new 2014 Scion TC. It's a knockout. And USAA, proudly serving the financial needs of current and former military members and their families.
66-52, Wichita State on their way to their 25th straight win, 7:08 to go. And Mark, you go back to December 1st of this season, arguably their most impressive win against what's now a 13th ranked St. Louis team on the road.
And the most impressive thing to me was they scored 70 points in this game. Nobody does that at St. Louis, but Wichita State did. Everybody questions their national ranking at number 4. I challenge anybody to go to St. Louis and try to figure out a way to win A and score 70 against Jim Cruz's ball club any night.
And now's the time of year where we start talking about RPI, but almost more importantly, we start talking about BPI. Explain that for us.
Well, BPI is like the difference between an RPI handsaw and a BPI chainsaw. Both cut, but one goes deeper and faster. It's based upon scoring margins adjusted by pace. It has a wider and deeper evaluation of strength of schedules. It also accounts for injuries, missing players, and adjusts the weights of the wins and losses based on that information. It's a complete predictor of basically who should be in the NCAA tournament and even the outcomes of the NCAA tournament. I love the BPI because I like chainsaws.
And from what we saw there, Wichita State is only ranked 11th in the BPI, but that St. Louis win was only their 4th best BPI win, interestingly enough. Wins at Indiana State against Tulsa and BYU also rank up there for the Shockers.
Well, and for all those people who complain that the Shockers don't have that strength of schedule, then I would challenge any platinum level program that spends $5 million or more on their men's basketball program, play them home and home. It's real simple. We'll see who's good and who isn't.
Panthers, for that matter, can't get anyone to come here.
For the same reason.
It was a coup that they got the VCU Rams to come here early in the season. We called that game. They beat the Rams here.
Yeah. Well, 7 out of the last 8 ranked opponents that came to Cedar Falls left here with a loss. That's why nobody wants to play at Northern Iowa. Ben Jacobson can coach, and Greg McDermott before him can coach.
We'll get the foul on Wichita State, so Northern Iowa is coming back the other way. 6:20 to go, and your team's down 14. Need to get hot from the field. And there's a start by Chip Rank, his 3rd triple of the night. Full court pressure.
We'll see how Van Vleet now can handle the pressure with that knee that he dinged earlier in the game. Looks pretty good right there.
Nice take, but it rolls off the rim. Early grabbed the rebound, and they got him for traveling.
The good news for Wichita State fans, Fred Van Vleet looks just fine, thank you. Just dribbled through 3 defenders.
And now wholesale substitutions for Greg Marshall. Wessel, Carter, Baker, all in. Wiggins, Lufiel, and Early go to the bench. So after scoring 16 in the first half, Cleanthony Early, the Wooden Award semifinalist, has been held in check in this half. Hasn't really seen much time on the floor in the second half. Washburn, the blow-by.
When he drops that right shoulder and creates leverage, he explodes to the basket. Wes Washburn, number 11 in white for Northern Iowa.
He's the 2nd Panther in double digits. Van Vleet, yes, silences the crowd.
He does it all the time. That's why I would want him on my team as my point guard. Big plays, he's a shut-up player. He shuts up the crowd.
Tuttle. Bodies go flying. Wichita State foul, 5:02 to go. And still some signs of life from Northern Iowa.
So we've seen in this game Cleanthony Early go down with a jammed shoulder. He went to the bench. We've seen Fred Van Vleet go down, left knee, dinged it. And then we just saw Baker take a charge and get up slow.
Tuttle misses that free throw. He has 13 points, 8 rebounds, on his way to his 3rd consecutive double-double. Make it 14 points for the junior. Full court pressure again by the Panthers. Under 5 to go. Wichita State looking to remain undefeated and move to 25-0.
Wichita State's going to use clock again. They've been under control and smart in their half-court sets.
Cotton for 3. Yes!
Underrated. Takeel Cotton.
18 for Takeel Cotton. Almost a turnover, and Ben Jacobson gets a timeout. Takeel Cotton's one off his career high with 18 tonight, 4 of them 3-pointers.
Takeel Cotton, one of those guys that's known as a defensive stopper, But tonight, knocking down the 3-ball, I think he's the most underrated player on this team because of the energy that he brings defensively and offensively. Now we're seeing him as a weapon. He's in rhythm right now offensively.
And I think for me, what Wichita State is really serving notice to a lot of people who may not have seen too much of them and may have questioned their 4th ranking and undefeated record. The role players are playing a big role as well.
Well, everybody talks about Cleanthony early, and deservedly so. Fred Van Vleet and Ron Baker, one of the best trios in college basketball. But we've seen Darius Carter step up his game, and Tequil Cotton. This is a team that has Final Four experience, and it shows up and down their roster, even with Evan Wessel coming off the bench, who contributes as well.
Last year, it was Ron Hall, provided a lot of senior leadership and inside play, and Darius Carter's filling that void.
Yeah, Carl Hall was a big, strong dude that could finish around the basket. Darius Carter's more of a lithe, long athlete that can finish and really change the game defensively. That's where I like him the most.
Here's Bohannon. Knocks down another 3. His 3rd triple of the night. 11 points for Bohannon, and the lead is 11. Well, Wichita State with 72 points calls a timeout. They have 3 remaining. Northern Iowa just 1 timeout left. 74 points per game so far for Wichita State. That's the top scoring team in the conference. They have 72 with 4 minutes to go. In-state rivalries highlight this week's Big Monday doubleheader. First at 7, a battle in Florida when the Hurricanes face the Seminoles. Then at 9, freshman Andrew Wiggins and the Jayhawks host in-state rival Kansas State. Big Monday, presented by Verizon, is part of Rivalry Week, presented by Wendy's. Both games also live on Watch ESPN. And you could certainly make the case that the Big 12 is the best overall conference. And when you look at teams like Wichita State not getting a chance to play those teams, it would seem like a natural fit, geographically at least.
Yeah, but no one's going to be excited to play Wichita State right now in the state of Kansas, including Kansas or Kansas State. Trust me, it's not going to happen. But we look at the big 3 tonight have been Darius Carter, Tequil Cotton, and Cleanthony Early. But the decision-making of Ron Baker and Fred Van Vleet, I think, differentiates this team.
Yeah. Van Vleet, 10 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds.
That's 5-second count.
And you're right. We've got our final media timeout with 3:49 to go. Northern Iowa clinging to hope. Major programs who have really established themselves as consistent contenders, not to be taken lightly.
Wichita State is the new Gonzaga. Now, Gonzaga has done it for decades now. But when you look at Wichita State and the staying power of what Greg Marshall has built here, 11 victories in his first year, and then a meteoric rise to the NIT championship and then to the Final Four, and now an undefeated season so far, Wichita State is one of those programs, like a Creighton who went to the Big East. This is an elite program in the country right now, just like Gonzaga.
Bohannon, no good. Baker, the rebound. Coming up after us, the NHRA Nationals. Here's Carter. 14 for Darius Carter. And a block on the other end, but they're going to get a foul.
Because Evan Wessel came to the ball to accept the pass, it turned into another pass and a second pass to Darius Carter. Again, fundamental things. A lot of guys hang back, wait for that pass to come. Washburn would have intercepted it. Instead, Wessel gets it, Carter gets the dunk.
Closest Northern Iowa has been since the 15-18 mark has been 9. My question to you, Mark, is what kind of adjustments did Greg Marshall and the Wichita State team make at halftime that they played so much better in the second half?
Greg Marshall talked about it during the halftime interview that they had to play smarter defensively, and they did that. Seth Tuttle was a non-factor in the second half. Washburn, they kept him under control. Their team defense was a lot smarter in the second half.
Baker. Yes. Pretty move by Ron Baker. And he's in double digits. The 4th Shocker to score 10 or more tonight. And this crowd is completely taken out of the game with under 3 to go.
And we've seen this movie before 34 other times over the last 3+ seasons where Wichita State goes on the road and wins. The best road team in the country during that stretch, 34-8 on the road.
Talk to Ron Baker about the pressure of being undefeated, and Sports Illustrated is here, the New York Times is here. People are following them on a national scope now. And he looked at one of his assistant coaches and said, this is about the first weekend of March Madness type pressure. Hasn't even reached Elite 8 pressure yet, according to Ron Baker.
And that's the experience factor that this team has, having gone to the Final Four, been to and played Louisville in the national semifinal game and had them down in the second half, couldn't close it out. They left that floor that day committed with 7 out of their top 9 players returning, that they're not going to go to the NCAA tournament again. They're going to win it.
2 for 2 from the line for Van Vleet. And you saw just a moment ago the #1 team scoring offense and scoring defense in the Missouri Valley Conference. No other team can say that in conference play. And most people who follow this team closely can make the argument this year's team is better than the Final Four team from a year ago. With apologies to the Carl Halls and the Malcolm Armsteads of the world.
But this team doesn't feel pressure because of their head coach. Greg Marshall has a one-word mantra for this season for him personally, and that's to appreciate. Appreciate the experience. Not sit on a beach someday and reflect back on what a great season it was. Appreciate it now. And his team appreciates it now, and I think that takes care of the pressure of this team going on the road, undefeated. They don't feel pressure. They see opportunity. That's what winners do.
Living in the moment. 2:29 to go. That's what separates Wichita State and a 25-0 record. And Northern Iowa gets a 50-50 ball to go their way. 2:28 to go, and Panthers down 14. A much higher scoring game than the last time these two met in Wichita. That final score on January 5th was 67-53. Neither team shot the ball well from the field in that game. In this game, however, Wichita State has taken care of things from the field goal percentage perspective.
Yeah, they've hammered Northern Iowa in the paint.
Another three from Bohannon. That's his 4th tonight.
He's played well. That's good news for Northern Iowa.
Good job again handling the pressure. 2 minutes to go.
Good maturity right there. Pull it back out, run some clock. They just don't beat themselves. They just don't make very many mistakes.
10 on the shot clock. Baker directing traffic. Here's Early for 3. Too strong. Lufiel offensive rebound taken away by Morgan. And here's Rank from behind the arc. Lufiel another rebound. Smart play by Shadrach Lufiel, giving it up to your point guard as quickly as possible.
Especially when your point guard shoots about 85% from the free throw line.
1:19 to go. Wichita State up 11. This is what it looked like 3 minutes into the second half. So what a last 15 minutes or so it's been, obviously, for Wichita State.
Went from -16 to -8. That means that they outscored points in the paint, points off turnovers, second chance points over the last 15 minutes by 8 points against Northern Iowa. But give Northern Iowa credit for punching Wichita State right in the mouth of what they do best. Second chance points, points in the paint, points off turnovers. Well done by Northern Iowa early in this basketball game.
Next up for the Panthers, they're home against Loyola. Then on the 15th, they have to go to Missouri State. That game will be on ESPNU. 1 for 2 for Van Vleet. He has 13, and the lead is 12, counting down to 1 minute to go. Wichita State in 3 days will take on Southern Illinois. Then on the 16th, they're at Evansville. The 19th at Loyola. The 22nd, they welcome Drake into the Roundhouse.
I really thought that going into this week at Indiana State, Greg Lansing positioned his team to win in Terre Haute. And Indiana State just couldn't make free throws and make shots in the second half. Wichita State came out of there with a hard-fought win. And then coming to Northern Iowa, Nate Buss not being available physically tonight with a knee injury, that affects this team to stretch a defense and bring LaFeel, to bring Colby, to bring Darius Carter out away from the basket, which are their 3 best defensive rebounders. Nate Buss not available tonight.
Tuttle 2 for 2. All of his points in the second half have come from the free throw line. 1 minute to go.
But this is an impressive road sweep for Wichita State.
Lufiel went up with an exclamation point in mind. He'll go to the line and shoot 2 instead. Well, this was a physical battle. Cleanthony Early got banged up in the first minute of the game. We saw Fred Van Vleet go out in the second half with a knee injury, tweaked his knee, but he's fine. They'll walk away from Cedar Falls with some bumps and bruises.
Baker dinged his ankle the first play of the game, then took a charge and came up slow. But these guys just continue to get up. Look, Anthony Early.
Rank off the mark. Van Vleet clears it up ahead as Lufiel leaks out. Early wasn't expecting the pass.
Well, that's what happens when you have a postman lead the break.
And Washburn gets fouled and will go to the line. .4 ticks left. We talked about some upcoming games. What could be the most interesting is the last regular season game for Wichita State. First weekend in March, they welcome in Missouri State, and that was the one major scare they had earlier this season. They were down 19 at one point at Missouri State.
And Fred Van Vleet took over and scored 7 out of the last 8 points in overtime, and Wichita State was able to escape Springfield, Missouri. But Marcus Marshall hurt for Paul Lusk. Paul Lusk has done a great job of managing injuries, coaching, bringing along his young team. But without Marcus Marshall, that's a tough task to win in the Roundhouse.
And they'll get a foul before the ball gets inbounds, and Fred Van Vleet will go back to the line. That's the final foul on Wes Washburn. He fouls out of the contest.
Well, only 26 teams in NCAA history have opened up the season 25-0. Wichita State will be the 27th.
This is the highest ranking that the Wichita State Shockers program has ascended to since December 29th of 1981, when they were up at number 2. And interestingly enough, a member of that team a lot of people would recognize, Xavier McDaniel. He was one of the people that they mentioned, Greg Marshall mentioned, was an inspiration to the whole play angry mantra.
Antoine Carr and Xavier McDaniel had an attitude, and they described it this way. If someone were breaking into your house to hurt your family, how would you act? You'd act angry. You would defend your home. And that's this team's mantra now. They play angry because of that example from the historic players Antoine Carr and Xavier McDaniel.
Coming up next, the Circle K NHRA Winter Nationals from Pomona, California. This one's academic at this point, a 10-point lead for the 4th-ranked undefeated Wichita State Shockers.
So Syracuse and Wichita State, the only 2 undefeated teams in the country now.
And Bohannon fouls Baker. So Ron Baker will go to the line, looking to add to his 10-point total. Southern Illinois Tuesday, on the road, back-to-back games. Evansville, one of the youngest teams in the nation. Loyola on the 19th, Drake on the 22nd, and then they go to Bradley on the 25th.
The game at Evansville has potential. Evansville has had Wichita State's number because of the way that Marty Simmons coaches that motion offense. It puts a lot of pressure on the defense. And DJ Ballantyne put on an absolute clinic in the first 10 minutes of the game at Wichita when Evansville was up 29-14 in the first half against Wichita State. So that's a maybe.
2 for 2 for Baker. 82-70 Wichita State. Bohannon, another 3. He's been a bright spot. 5 3-pointers for Matt Bohannon.
Well, this team had to make a lot of threes to win this game tonight. One guy did, Matt Bohannon.
And they call off the Dogs. Well, the possibility of perfection becomes more probable with every win. Wichita State is now 25-0, and the dream is still alive in the heartland. Your final score, 4th-ranked Wichita State 82, Northern Iowa 73. Coming up next on ESPN2, the Circle K NHRA Winter Nationals, qualifying at Auto Club Raceway in Pomona, California. The Shockers improved to 25-0, the first team since the 2008 Memphis Tigers to do so. For my broadcast partner, Mark Adams, and everybody here from Cedar Falls, so long, the Shockers still undefeated.